Pierre. Pierre, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
I see you talking, Pierre, but I don't hear you. Oh, wait, that's because my speakers are muted. Okay, how about now, Pierre?
Yeah, I can hear you very well. Can you hear me?
I do. I hear you very well.
Excellent.
So what, you use JASM, is that right, Pierre?
Yeah, I used JASM, and I was trying to reach you last time because I was having some trouble identifying brownfields and IDP camps. But in the meantime, I found those parameters, and I've put them on my taskbar in JASM. So I don't know how you use it in your workspace, but I'd be curious to see your workspace and in JASM and see whether it's similar to mine.
Oh, let's see here. Unfortunately, this is not not very representative because I'm working on my laptop. So my laptop is not especially representative of how my JASM is usually set up.
There seems to be another guest.
Okay, let's see here. There it is, John.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, hi, John. It's Blake.
So it's the first time we've spoken, I think. I don't have one of these video camera things, so you just have to hear my voice.
That's fine. It's no problem. John, do you use JASM as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Not really.
Right.
Oh, I mean, yes. I mean like the, yeah, sure. The ID web editor, what have you, and Potlatch and Mercator.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's stop admitting they exist.
Okay. Yeah, I mean they're good for I mean it's just for bringing somebody in brand new. There's no lower barrier to entry than the ID web editor.
Yeah, that's true.
I find it it's great for that, for getting people to try it out and see what editing and mapping is all about. It's perfect. I don't know how people do it where they want to do it. Like if you had a choice, I don't know. I don't know why you would. It just seems a lot harder to work in ID than it does in JASM. But it's just because of what we're used to.
Yeah.
So let's see here. So does anybody? So you wanted to see what my setup looks like first off.
Right.
So let me just get a task checked out here just so we have something to look at. And that with JASM. Okay. So, I mean, the first thing that I do that's probably different than most people is, oh, by the way, I used to know how to tell people to do Google Hangouts here. What is it here?
We just lost Blake. John, are you there?
Yep.
Okay.
Don't worry, you'll come back. I have faith.
Where are you located?
Me? I'm up in Ottawa. It's sort of north of America.
North of America. Okay.
What are you?
Not to hit.
Oxford in the UK.
So you're in the UK?
Yes.
Oh, good. That means I can understand your accent.
I'm actually Swiss, so.
Yeah, but I can still understand your accent.
I can see I have. Okay. Sorry about that. You guys hear me okay again?
Yes.
Okay, well, don't hit refresh. I mean, I hit refresh on the wrong window and that didn't go very well. So I was going to explain that there is a way to make this Google Hangout a little bit more viewable, but now I don't remember what it is. Let me just try one more thing here. No, I didn't do it. Okay.
Oh, dear.
So somehow, oh, maybe it's just if you have a separate Google Hangouts window and you make it full screen using one of the buttons here in the upper right-hand corner, and then you can use to be able to see my screen better. When you're in your Google Hangouts window, you can use, if you hold down Control and then hit the minus key, it makes the Google Hangout interface smaller so that the screen share that I'm doing gets bigger. It's kind of counterintuitive, but Control minus, in theory, is going to make my JASM bigger for you because the interface for Google Hangouts will get smaller.
Good heavens. Really amazing.
So the first thing that I think is probably different than what most people use here is, can you see I have map paint styles open?
Yep.
And I don't know, are either one of you two familiar with map paint styles?
I think I use hot paint style, yeah.
Okay.
I just got it set up once and that was it. I forgot about the rest of it.
Okay, because I don't have my, there is an HDM paint style,
Yeah.
and then there's a hot validate paint style. And then I created my own. Again, unfortunately, this is not the JASM that I typically use, but I created my own map paint style for validation.
Yeah.
But this one is not too bad, and you can see it sort of tells you where things are joined, so you can decide
Yes.
if they should be joined or not.
Yeah.
Those probably shouldn't be. Roads
So
should
is that one available, hot validate?
Hot validate should be available, yeah. And
Okay.
that's edit, preferences,
Yeah.
and then I believe it is this grid one, this grid
That's
option.
it. Yeah, and then paint style.
And then there is a hot validate in here, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Is there?
Okay. Well, that one's worth knowing about. Pierre, I do a lot of validation in hot. Basically, not particularly sort of heavy stuff, but just going through and picking up the newcomers and sort of making sure they're squaring the buildings and things like that. And looking out for zebra crossings in middle of Africa. There's not that many of them.
Okay. So in the validation process, what are the typical things that you look at? I would presume squaring buildings and making sure that sides of buildings are not jointed, or buildings are not jointed.
To be honest about it, what I tend to do is I run the full validation in JOSM, and that will pick up the crossing buildings. Because people tend to either map from Botmax or Bing, quite often you'll see that all the buildings for one or the other for a particular mapper will be a meter out or 2 meters out. So if I'm feeling terribly nice and noble, I will pick them all up for that mapper and move them over the 1 or 2 meters. I will check to see that highways actually connect. That's sort of one of the things I like to do because I'm heavily into things like OSM which has got routing on it. And routing doesn't work if you don't join the bloody highways up. Buildings, as I say, yeah, I try and get most of them, but to be honest about it, if one or two get missed, I'm not really that fussed these days. I used to be more fussed, but when you're faced with 3,000 buildings, forget it. Settlements, if someone's actually marked the tile as mapped or done, I will go in and I'll add in perhaps 16 or 20 settlements if they've missed them. I'll add in roads and basically finish it off, and then basically say it's validated. Because one of the problems in hot mapping is that nobody validates. And if you see one mapper doing something wrong consistently, I sort of try and send them a little message sort of saying, it would be better to sort of take all the little squares you've got over buildings that are marked area equals yes and say building equals yes. And that saves me work in the future. So does that give you some idea of sort of the side of validation of things that I do?
Yeah, yeah, it does. Very helpful. Thank you. And I was having trouble finding out what were the tasks of the validator and how to do a proper validation. I was looking on YouTube, couldn't really find any references. I'm sure that it's dug somewhere into the wiki page, but I was looking for
There isn't much
five
guidance.
five pay attention.
From what I can see, probably one of the most important things is, do you actually know what you're doing? Have you read the instructions? You can turn people off by saying this square is invalid because you haven't done something, and in fact it's not actually requested in the project.
Mhm.
So read the instructions first. Oh, what do I do these days? I will probably sit on perhaps 4 projects, and I will validate anything that comes in on those projects.
Mhm.
That way, it gives feedback to the people working on the projects, and they feel that someone's actually looking at the projects. My God, you mean there's a wiki on this stuff? God, amazing, Blake. I never read the instructions in the wiki. I really ought to, but I'm lazy. So what's that has done is I now have 2 or 3 mappers who sort of will work on projects that I work on because I validate. So we go and find nice projects to work on. It's a slightly different way of working.
Well, that's
So
good. Work
in
as
theory, I pasted in the link to the validation
Uh,
in the text.
Blake, you'll get me reading the validation stuff, and then I shall start thinking I'm not doing it right.
I mean, it all sounded right to me. You
Yeah,
know, it all sounded right to me. It's really, I mean, I don't even always run the JAWS validation process. A lot of times I just look at it to see,
yeah,
did they map all the roads? Oftentimes the roads will be not classified correctly.
yeah.
That's the big thing that's probably one of the most important things you can do is work on the roads being classified properly. It's also kind of a challenge, but
Yes.
making that as uniform and as sensible as possible so you don't have a path connecting 2 primary segments, do you know what I mean? So
Hey,
that
come on.
they're tagged properly is really, that's what we do. We do base
Yeah,
mapping. So roads,
yeah.
you know,
Um, the
that's the number one
highways,
thing people go to us for. So making sure that our roads are well
pri
done.
primary, secondary, and tertiary, I leave alone. I let somebody else go in and sort those out.
Yeah,
I will sort of try and do the unclassifieds. I will look for highway equals road, and I will try and reclassify those, either as track or unclassified quite often. Um, the validator I find useful because it shows where roads aren't connected. And if you're giving somebody a map of the area and they're using OSM and they want to know how to get from here to there, then they need the roads to be connected, if that makes sense.
yeah.
So that one is sort of a biggie to me. Um, it's it's a little bit of a value thing, I think. I think probably if we try and make validation sound too challenging or put too much on it, you'll get less people doing validating. And at the moment, we need validators. That looks like Nepal to me.
Yeah, this is Nepal.
Yeah, Nepal I found very challenging to map in and to validate.
Yeah, Nepal is not easy mapping because of all the little paths.
Yeah,
And deciding, there's a lot of this editorial judgment that's involved in what to map. This actually doesn't, I mean, aside from this one piece that's kind of hanging out all by itself,
yeah,
doesn't this looks pretty well mapped. I mean,
yeah,
I don't really know what's going on here. I would probably, so when I'm mapping, I check this out of the tasking manager. And I'll go back to the tasking manager.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's my tasking manager. And I can see this is the square that I have checked out.
Yeah.
And there's nobody mapping on any side of me. I might double check and reload this page just to make sure that's still true.
Yeah.
But there's nobody mapping on either on any side of me. So I can come back here into JASM. And so like I'm seeing here, okay,
Yeah.
remember, we're trying to connect things up so people can get from one place to another. So I see that this is a pretty good size, whatever it is. And it looks like it might go up here. So, so I'll just load this,
Yeah.
I'll just download this additional part, and I won't do it as a new layer. I'll just let it be part of the layer I have,
Yeah.
you
No,
know.
I do exactly the same when I'm validating as well.
Yeah. Because you want to try and make it as well mapped a square as you can. And this is just hard. I mean, Nepal is just hard mapping. I don't know. This definitely looks like it continues,
Yeah.
but it's
So
probably
uh, John and Blake, I had some questions regarding the maps on Nepal, particularly those looking at brownfields and IDP camps. So
okay.
Oh my
you know,
God.
it does, and some of the tasks they're suggesting to download the Playad CNES Airbus map from.
Yes, I have that here. I have one of these open, Pierre.
Yeah, and I found that on some tiles, you know, the image was off.
Okay.
When trying to readjust the image to Bing using the green box in your taskbar there to try to make it as close as possible. Yeah,
Yeah,
this one. It was still off when it seemed that the image was taken from a different angle from the satellite.
could be.
And while some roads or rivers were, perfectly aligned, some houses were not. And
Well, here, I did that already while we were talking before.
uh
So this is that Pleiades imagery, and this is the Bing imagery.
Yep.
And so I already did this. So let me just come up here and say, and let me just reset this to 0. So let me just make this 0. And so I can look and see that this is, somewhat off. I can, if I look at the Bing imagery, this is how, you know how to do this. You just described it.
Yes.
So the Bing is, and I turn on and off this a lot too. So I can see that the Bing imagery these roads are pretty well done for the Bing imagery. If I blink them on and off here, I can see that they're pretty good. They're not perfect, but they're pretty good. So if I turn back on I did it on this curve, I think. I did it on a curve around here somewhere. That was the easiest part for me to be sure about. I think I did it on this curve. So this looks pretty well aligned to Bing. So I can trust this road. This road is good on Bing. And then I turned on, and see how off this is now? See, this is the road that's in the Pleiades imagery, and it's pretty far shifted off. So I came up here, and I did this, just what you already know how to do. And I moved this so that it lined up, as well as it can. I mean, you can see, so here it's lined up really well, but often here it's already off a little bit, and here it's off a little bit. So that's just in how the imagery was processed. It just ended up a little bit. So you got to kind of average it, and get it about as right as you can. And then if we come over and look here and see how well it actually lined up pretty good here too.
So far so good. I'm doing that exact same process.
And so I can do this again. Look, I'll just do this again here. If this is where I'm about to map, so when I blink these on and off, you can see this building right here is off. There's the outline for the building, and here's where it is in the imagery. So I'll just do it again when I get here. You know what I mean? I'll just line up this part with that building or the road or whatever I'm using. So now where I'm about to map, now it's well registered.
So what the way you work around the different angle of pictures being taken by satellites is to remap when you're about to map a specific area. And if you move to a different place and you see some misalignments, then you readjust again the image.
Exactly.
Am I correct? Yeah.
Yep, that's just what I do. If I get someplace else and I see that it's off, sometimes I have to do this a number of times, and wherever it's a little bit more. So we're not doing IDP camps. We're doing the brown fields, I guess, and IDP camps. So it's a little less vital. You should still try and line it up right, but we're not doing buildings. But if I was doing buildings and I got to another part of the imagery and I saw that the buildings were off, then I would just align it again where I'm working, and that's it. So sometimes I have to do it 3 or 4 times.
I'm going to say bye to you. I've got some domestic stuff to do. Okay? Bye.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for stopping in, John. So here now it's off again. So if I was going to do mapping here, I would just come in and, I would realign it to that road, and now I would do my mapping. That's how I deal with it. Wherever I'm about to do mapping, I get it matched up and I do my mapping. And then if I go someplace else and it's off, I just line it up again with what's already there and I do my mapping. Because you're right, it gets taken at different angles and then it gets geo-rectified. And
Okay.
so I'm going to map this in here. I would map this in here. I don't know what's going on exactly, but this looks like something I would map in. If I were doing what do you call it?
I think
If I were doing validation.
there's someone else that just joined, Blake.
Okay, that's great. I would go ahead and just map this into whatever's happening here. And I would call that a path. So let's see. Somebody joined us. Another Pierre.
That's too many windows.
What are the odds, huh?
Hi, Pierre. Pierre Ballon. Pierre Ballon, this is Pierre, and I can't pronounce your last name.
Mirrorless.
Mirrorless, okay. Pierre Ballon is, the activation coordinator for Nepal and West Africa and Vanuatu, and just about any crisis that comes up, Pierre steps in and starts doing coordination.
Aye.
So, Pierre, we were just talking about validation. Pierre Ballon. And I would have added these in if it were me.
Yeah, for people that don't know Nepal, it's quite particular in the mountains. It's not necessarily easy to interpret the images.
No. Yeah, it's extremely difficult. Yeah, Pierre's been to Nepal. Pierre Ballon has been to Nepal, so he's got a little bit.
So, Pierre, while you're online and as you're an activator, in some of the tiles in Nepal, there is a lot of fog on the image or some clouds, and I've been trying to shift from Bing to other sources, but still sometimes it's extremely hard to identify some buildings. Are you working with some image providers to get updates on some of those areas?
Yeah, we received the imageries from the digital road Airbus. We have echo. The problem is that at this period of the year, it's the monsoon that is coming soon, and there's a lot of clouds. The clouds come from India and they are stopped by the Himalaya mountains. It's days after days the imagery provider were taking pictures. They are all cloudy or foggy. It's very hard to obtain good quality image. And that's a challenge. If you are not used to work with such bad image, it's quite a challenge.
Okay. So is there any tricks in JAWSM to improve the quality of the image? What I use, Blake, is a large 27-inch screen. I try to put my room in the dark to have a better view on the image. But is there anything within I know in the ID editor you can put a little more contrast on the image. in JAWSM, is there any trick to bring more contrast to the image?
No, not that I'm aware of. We need a plugin that lets you do contrast and brightness adjustments in JAWSM. I do it on my monitor. If the imagery is really bad, I'll just use the brightness and contrast controls on my monitor. I mean, it blows it out for anything that's not the imagery, but I'll do whatever I can just adjusting the settings on my monitor to get the imagery to look as good as possible. And then when I'm done, I put it back to regular for working on everything else.
Okay.
Pierre,
Yeah, badly, we had a lot of propositions this year for the Google Summer, don't know, development, but not about this. I would like this one.
Yeah, somebody did one. Somebody made a contrast and brightness adjuster for JAWSM. But
yeah, for Mali activation, but it was a patch to the version at the time. It was not a plugin.
Oh, it wasn't. Somebody said that it had a big memory leak, and that's why they stopped developing it.
Yeah, that kind of trick. Somebody develops very rapidly for a few days, but then you have to enhance it to contribute to a longer period to do something interesting. People are not ready to do it.
I don't know about this here.
Blake, I have another question. On the when tagging IDP camps, it is said in the instruction on some of those tiles that you should do that when you have 5 or 6 of them clustered. But very often you can actually identify some IDP camps which are close to houses. It seems like tents, and it's 1 or 2. Should those still be mapped, or it's not affected?
Pierre, Milan?
Yes, Blake?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. I was looking at the quality of the video.
Blake, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. I was going to let Pierre answer. I think, yeah, you can tag, for IDP camps, you can tag anything down to 1 tent as far as I'm concerned. But Pierre Ballon has the real answer. But I would tag anything down to 1 tent.
Yeah, but no, I would say if somebody was saying let's say 5 tents, I would not go up. You are not sure enough. One. If you see a few ones, then it's more clear. There are tents over there. Sometimes it could be a roof. It's sometimes difficult to differentiate if this is a roof or a tent. I would not go up to 1 tent. No.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not very good at tagging IDP camps in general. I think that's also difficult, very difficult mapping. So here, I mean, this looks to me, can you see this spot right here, Pierre?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I started in fact, I started mapping for Haiti in 2011, and I started to map for IDP camps. It was a lot easier for Haiti.
Really?
After an earthquake in Haiti, we had a very clear image. Why for Nepal, it's quite difficult to interpret the images in the mountains. And even in Kathmandu, we were lucky to have an image 27, 2 days after the earthquake. But even in Kathmandu, it was not easy. We could say, because it was a park and you would see a lot of squares of tents in the park, you could say it is a IDP, but in the mountains, it's not as easy. A lot of interpretation. You have to look at various images and compare with the pre-disaster imagery and then decide. It's a lot of interpretation.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right here. I mean, this is, so, this is pre-event imagery right here, and then this is the post-event imagery, and I'm trying to decide.
We only see Blake on the screen.
You only see me on the screen.
No, I see your screen. I see your...
You see my JAWSM.
Yes.
Yeah, the other Pierre sees my JAWSM.
Funny.
Mr. Ballon?
Funny, I see your head with a circle around. That's all what I see.
I see both of you gentlemen well.
I don't see at the bottom. I don't see you. I just see your name, Blake.
Okay, but you don't see my JASM? You don't see my...
No, I see your image in the middle of the screen.
Oh, that's not right.
No, I see your JASM.
Okay, so...
Ah, okay, now it's back. Funny. I didn't do anything, and I
Now,
don't know why, but now I see the
do you see my JASM
JOSM.
now,
Yeah.
Mr. Ballon? Okay, so I was just saying, I was showing that this is pre-event imagery, and this is the post-event imagery.
Okay. You see the pre-event. You clearly see the terraces.
Yeah.
You see all the lights. These are the terraces where they cultivate on the right.
Yeah.
Right from the houses.
Right. So now when I switch to the post-event imagery, you know, I mean, I can still kind of see these terraces over here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you see all it's imprecise, and whereas just yeah, I think I see tents. I would
here,
think there are tents.
this
Yeah,
looks like one.
not this one. On the bottom right from there. Yeah, there.
Here.
There it could be tents. Yeah,
Interesting.
but it's not very good quality image. It's hard to. You see, because the terraces there's a lot of space.
Yeah, because this looks like a building to me. This right here looks like a building.
Yeah, me also.
But I don't see it here in the pre-event imagery.
Yeah, the problem is that it could be too old, the pre-imagery.
Yeah. So you know that you can right-click on here and you can say Show Tile Info, and somewhere Show Tile Info. Now, how come I don't see the date on there?
Sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah, I have this problem too.
Oh, interesting. Well, normally you can right-click and say Show Tile Info, and it will show you Bing imagery. It will tell you the date. It won't tell you the date for Mapbox imagery.
Maybe.
Usually tells you the date. Yeah, so I need to just work on my registration here. I need to work on my background registration here. So, for example, Pierre. So, for example, this is kind of this square, this open area here is what I'm trying to use for registration. So this is that same area. And so sometimes I'll just do that. Whoops. Sometimes I'll just go right ahead and I'll just draw in something that I'm using for the image alignment. Whoops. That wasn't very good. I'll just draw something in that I'm using for the image alignment.
Yeah. Yeah, something big like that. Yeah.
And then I'll switch back to, you know, I see.
Yeah.
So I'll just move this now. So I want this to be lined up with my Bing imagery. So that's lined up with my Bing imagery, and now I can come here and I can line up my new imagery. So that's about as lined up as I can get. So now when I compare these two, yeah, this is all new, but it's, yeah, those could be trends. This all looks like IDP camp to me. But again, I have a really hard time mapping IDP camps.
And if you look at the buildings, so you have interpretation to make. So if you look at the buildings, it seems there are a lot of damages.
Yeah. Yeah, this is all already marked as brownfield. This whole area is marked as brownfield.
Yeah.
This all looks pretty well destroyed.
Yeah.
So not up here. These seem to hold up pretty good up here in this upper left-hand area. But all of this through here, I think that's all perfectly valid as brownfield. This looks like brownfield too.
And in the mountains, the houses are built with bricks and a mortar. And as we've seen on pictures, it's all broken.
Yeah, these just look white. I mean, they just look gone. You know, you can. It's
Yeah.
weird because I don't
Yeah.
even see the roofs anymore. I would mark all
Yeah,
that.
often we see the roof. Often we see the roof here, and we don't even recognize the roof.
It just looks like it just got completely destroyed. Yeah, it just looks gone. But I would probably mark this as IDP camp. That looks like a tent to me. This orange one looks like a tent. But it's really difficult to do
It's
the
too.
IDP.
By the way, Blake, on the top right, you've got Tasking Manager hashtag 1062. Is that the same one as the CNAS Airbus image? That
Yeah,
is okay.
yeah, that's what got brought over. That's
Okay.
what got brought over when I clicked on edit with JASM.
Okay. Okay.
That's what got shipped over to me.
Yeah, because I also have that opens when I edit with JASM, but then also in my imagery, I have the option to import playat CNES imagery. So I was wondering whether I needed to import both or whether this tasking manager was actually it.
Yeah. So do you see the dialog box? I can right click on Tasking Manager
Yes.
and say Info. And do you see
Got
the dialog box that comes up?
Okay.
I don't know if you do. Sometimes it doesn't show up because it's
Yeah.
wrong. But I get a dialog box that tells me what the URL is.
Yeah, I got the same. Yeah.
And I can go back to the Tasking Manager instructions and I can see if it matches the URL that this tells me I'm supposed to use.
Okay.
And I believe it does. Yes, it does. It matches. So that's the right imagery from the.
It depends how we set up the task manager. Uh, if if we enter it properly, it's moved directly to the OSM.
So Pierre, on an activation like Nepal, how many mappers are actually new to OpenStreetMap?
It depends from one activation to the other, but what we see since Ayan in 2013, Ebola last year, and now Nepal, a lot of new contributors. For the first 5 weeks, there were 7,000 contributors. About 5,000 of them are new.
Wow.
It's
So
a
because
lot.
I started, I don't have your history, but I started five months ago, and it was hard to actually find out what I was supposed to do and what was the difference between JASM, the data editor, and then to get on board. I had to go through the wiki page and then to look at some YouTube videos. And that's why, Blake, I was suggesting that you and I connect, and I think you've got a training team that meets every couple of weeks. Because I think what would have helped me is some 5-minute videos posted on YouTube or on some site that would go in sequence, starting and then beginner's task and then level 2 intermediate and then more advanced. Starting with the ID editor and teaching me not to do some of the mistakes which I've done, which was, I was not squaring buildings. I didn't know. Buildings were connected or overlapping. I simply didn't know, and I learned as I was going through but I could have avoided some of those mistakes if I had got a little better guidance. That I think is not too difficult to do, to provide to new users, especially if you have 5,000 users out of 7,000, which are new. Then these guys need some guidance.
And yeah, what I would say also is we need to plan the tasking manager job plus learning material. We should not have a huge job like a job 10, 18. this huge job that covers all the area it's never ending. And I would have jobs only to trace buildings. For the new contributors, I would have them first only do buildings. Very simple task.
What do you? I think doing roads is simpler than buildings. Is there?
It could be either one or the other, either road, either buildings. But in Nepal, in the mountains, it's path. It's very hard for a new contributor to understand.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, in Nepal, right, roads is a challenge.
I think you know what I saw you did in Nepal is actually put a note in red and saying this is for advanced users, and then read the instructions. I think that was really good. And maybe on an activation, you could say, you know, this is good for beginners, and then link it to something that is a little more interactive, like a video that would say, okay, this is what is expected from you in terms of, you know, you're expected to square buildings or to map the buildings, and here's a video on how you can actually do it. That would avoid some mistakes.
I think we're talking about that. I think that the Red Cross people are talking about making like literally 2-minute long videos on different topics. So I think other people agree with you that some very short videos help. I mean, I've done it before. Let me see here.
Well, I've done one, you know, just to try things out on YouTube, but on how to square buildings in the ID editor. But I'm thinking, you know, I was just trying things out, but I'm thinking that it needs to be almost connected to the task. If the task says, well, you know, we're expecting you to map buildings, this is okay for beginners, and here's a video that shows you how to do it, along with the wiki page or the Learn OSM link. Then the task is well defined, and people can refer to the course on how to get things done.
I think that's right. I think that one of the things that we should take away from this Nepal activation is that, like literally, I mean, I remember when this started, and Pierre and I and others were in the coordination channels trying to come up with what to do. I mean, I think right up there with figuring out where we have imagery, what sort of projects we should be creating in the tasking manager. I think creating, you know, guide or the short videos ought to be essentially of equal importance to seeing where we need to do, what areas we need to cover, seeing what imagery we have available. I think of equal importance is either static tracing guides or videos showing exactly how to work in these areas, and that's just as beneficial and just as important as basically any other thing that we need to accomplish early in an activation when we're trying to figure out how we can best help. I think the training materials, guides of some sort, might as well just be one of those same top priorities, because we're about to have, you know, typically hundreds of people come in, and so it would be quite beneficial if those hundreds of people could all have something to work from, and we could start putting them in the instructions from the very first project in the tasking manager forward.
At the beginning of the activation, it's very stressful. We have to adapt to the situation, to work rapidly, to look at imagery. It takes a lot of time to look at this. We had to adapt with Kathmandu Living Labs. We didn't even know these people. There's a 10-12 hours time difference with them. At least me in North America. So we are stuck with all these activities first. We don't have time too much to look at training. We would need more people that look specifically at this. Plus, other people start to organize Mapathon. They don't tell us, but we saw that these Mapathon were coming one after the other. We are not even sure these are Mapathon. We only see how many people at the same time are using the task manager. I think we need more tools, more tools to monitor what is going on. We need to have people tell us when they organize mapathons, things like that, and these people to take more responsibilities.
So, but we do have a group that focuses on training, right? That is, I saw on one of your recent mails that you had a team that was working on training.
Yes,
that's
but
great.
they don't necessarily come in the first days of the activation and adapt the material rapidly.
But we need to. I think somebody needs to. You're right. It can't be Pierre. It can't be Nama. It can't be the people who are doing that part of the coordination, the response, the activation. It can't be. It needs to be people who are specialists or at least willing to do the training materials. But you know what I mean? It can't be. Pierre can't be doing it. Mr. Balan can't be doing it. Nama can't be doing it. Manning can't be doing it. Those people have skills that they need to be spending on coordinating the response. And that's doing all this imagery evaluation and figuring out how to request imagery and figuring out what the priorities are for mapping and the areas and the objects and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we need to reach out to the people who will make training materials and tell them, we're going to need training materials on stuff that looks like this, and send them a URL so somebody can do a quick, how to do it.
We work by mission. We connect through Skype, and when we identify a problem like learning material, then we say who wants to lead this. You organize on Skype a new room. We can follow them, but we need a group that takes care of this.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm saying it needs to be, of equal importance, frankly, as, a lot of the other stuff that gets done. So we were talking about validation, and I am just validating while we're talking, which means I'm looking at, Pierre, what do you do with this one? What do you do with this piece here, Mr. Balan? This one here? You see what I'm talking about?
The red line?
Yeah, that path. That's connected to nothing. It's connected to nothing. It starts here and it ends here. I could probably connect it. I can probably connect it up here.
Even if you can connect it, it's somebody that can walk in his field. What is the purpose of this path? It connects to what? It's not. Doesn't come from the houses to the roads. It's in the fields. In these fields, you have a lot of paths for the people going to the field. Do we need to have all this information? For me, it's adds a lot of noise on the map.
Okay. I'm good with that. So that means I'm going to remove this. Yeah, I drew one in here just like, so I finished this one just because it connects, this is a footpath. So I put this one in here, and I should finish connecting it up to here. Because
these ones are more important. They connect from one place to the other. They are central ones.
That's what I feel like too. This is useful.
And there it connects. Yeah.
So, Pierre and Blake, someone interested in contributing to tutorials for a specific task when you activate, who would that person connect with?
You answer on the list and you propose yourself, and we ask you to come on Skype room to discuss with others. Basically, how we work.
Yeah, there's an ongoing. So the training working group primarily concentrates on the Learn OSM website. You've seen Learn OSM?
I've seen Learn OSM, but it's very good. It's very complete, and it's text. So it's very good because somebody want that, I went through it to teach myself. But I'm wondering whether
But this is long-term. This is long-term activities, but for the activation, we need a quick response. And people propose material, things like that, and to say, let's go, try it, show it what you can do. Show us what you can do.
So who would that person be in touch with? So it's basically sending a message to the
To the hot list,
okay.
and then we answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so you can say, Pierre, you can just say to, I mean, are you on Skype too, Pierre?
Yeah,
Sorry?
I'm on Skype. And,
Okay. So we need to connect on Skype. That's what we need to do. Because what Mr. Balan is saying is that when something like this happens, we all get in a Skype channel for coordinating this kind of a thing. So, like, for the real time, this is happening right now. What do you think we need a tracing guide on? I mean, you can ask on the hot list also. You could also ask on the hot list, hey, I want to make a tracing guide. Because we have these tracing guides that Mikkel started. God bless him. Let me see if I can find those. I don't know how to spell tracing here.
Myself, what I think we need is, in the tasking manager, you have simple tasks, and then you have a button, and somebody can click on this and see a tutorial, either video or text, that shows exactly this task.
exactly.
Yeah, so I put in the link to the tracing guides in the Google Hangout chat. Do you see that, Pierre?
Yep.
And so, I mean, you can right off the bat start making one of those and contributing it when this happens. But you're right, if you want to do, you know, like a short video on how to do some of these tracing guides, then it's just a matter of either asking on the hot list or connecting in Skype. I mean, the Skype coordination channels are kind of for, you know, we always need to make it. Pierre, this is Pierre Balan, this is something we don't do, but we need to make like a hot, when there's one of these things, when there's an activation like this going on, there needs to be a hot only channel for that activation so that we could have, you know, people who are new and learning and becoming more involved in our activation responses feel comfortable asking questions. We never really do that. We always have topic rooms with people from outside organizations, which makes me feel uncomfortable asking, you know, just hot only questions or discussing hot only challenges.
But we've discussed often about this, and we need solutions. What I would like is some chatting directly connected to the tasking manager, for example. But we need from the any hot page, any wiki page, it should be easy to see how you can communicate with people for support. In the tasking manager, it should be always easy. I would see on every page on the top a button to communicate for support. But I've said that many times. I hope you'll see it soon.
So I am still doing validation while we're talking, and it's primarily fixing up these roads. So I unjoined it from this land use area, and I'm going to make this, you know, this is a path. So I'm going to change it from road to path. You know, I'm just trying to make this all consistent while we're standing here talking. I think this is all valid as an IDP area. There may very
This path you trace right now, my experience trekking in Nepal, it could be a central road, a central path going from one village to the other, and you can have a lot of people, of animals crossing the village like that. people are making commerce coming from Tibet going down to Kathmandu, passing places like that. It's hard to imagine that looking at the imagery.
Huh. Interesting. This one right here, this one that's red? This one right here?
I mean, yeah, this could be a path that goes from one village to the other. I give this as an example. The villages are all connected like that with path.
Yeah.
In the mountains, there's not many roads,
Yeah. This one
and
seems like
then you have a lot of traffic going on these paths,
yeah.
and you pass between the houses like that.
Yeah, I agree that this one looks like it's significant. This one looks worth tracing because it looks like it connects down to this village here. Yeah, that's why this one looks good. This one out here, meh. This is just the backside. This is, like you said, this is just a farmland path. Doesn't really connect to anything. They have this path to get to all these buildings. I'm hoping. You know, you got to turn on and off what's been mapped so you can see what's underneath it and make sure it really exists. But other than that, I think this square looks okay validation-wise. Oh, so anyhow, there's something going on here, whatever this is marked as. Road. What are these here? That's a footpath. All this back and forth. That's probably that's probably just a path. But I would also map in the rest of this, honestly. If it were me, if I were mapping, I would continue this and map it. I would add the rest of this. Oops. But I would change it to path. It's not road, it's path. Yeah. Yeah, see, if you're connecting, you know, from road over here to path, that's legitimate to connect those up. Like Pierre was saying over here, this one was less important because if this one here was less important because it doesn't really connect very much. It's just a path that goes to the fields behind this village. You know, it's not wrong, but as Pierre says, it kind of makes the map more confusing. This one is also valid because it's connecting from a road down to this southern village here. So it plays an important logistics part. And then this one, I continued this one across because it connects from road to road. Because these roads are kind of controlled by the land. You know, the roads can only do so much. They can't go straight up a hill like a path can. So, other than that, I would say this square is pretty well mapped, really. So I'm going to run the validation on this one, Pierre. Oh, here, these are not right. So, oh, what's this? This is brownfield, I see. Okay, so let's look and see. Yeah, that all looks destroyed. Yeah, that village just looks gone. Huh, Pierre? All this? All this.
Whoops, I didn't have my sound. It's with quality of image like that, it's hard to see.
Yeah, but look, I mean, you can see that if a building were left standing, it would look like this one. This one here is a still standing building compared to just this rubble. Don't you think this is all destroyed?
Looks like.
Again, this is why I don't map. I haven't done a lot of this mapping because it's really hard. And there's people, I mean, these buildings are still intact, but these are all just seem to be gone. That one's still there. And eventually, we're just going to start getting this from the people of Copernicus.
I suspect sometimes only the roof stayed there and the rest is gone.
Yeah. That all just looks so destroyed. I don't know. You should have seen. I don't know what Digital Globe was doing, but when I saw what TomNod had versus what we had, sure looked like TomNod had nicer imagery than we did.
I have this feeling that they kept images for them. The problem we had also is that it's a management problem. We receive a lot of imagery, and we were not able to know what imagery we had for an area. It's very hard to manage all the imagery, monitor all the imagery we have. We need tools for that. But yeah, I have the feeling they kept a good image for them with thumbnail. And
I don't know, or they just had more resources to process their imagery.
Or know they exist. Or know they exist.
Yeah, right. Or know it exists. Yeah, it could very well be it was all shared and we just didn't quite get on it the same way they did.
Have you seen the Google Crisis Map? They have the KML file. They were asking us how we were satisfied with the service. I was surprised a few weeks after the start to see all the images that existed. We don't see it on the maps, monitoring maps, but the KML file had a lot more images to provide. And the problem is that you don't have the metadata. It's very hard to look at each image to see how good it is.
Yeah. Now, did you see?
I have another question. When looking at some maps and doing validation, I'm actually on a map right now where there are about 20 buildings which are not squared, and I want to select them all and then apply the square command, but it doesn't work. It only works if I select one or two, square them, and then move to the next one or two.
No, here I'll show you. I'll show you how to do it. So you go to search, and you type in building equals star, and you say search. You can get a little trickier here, but this is how I do it. I say building equals star, and can you see it selected all my buildings?
Yeah.
Then you come up to selection, and you say unselect nodes.
Okay.
And now you can, now you can hit your Q key and square them all.
You can also use the filter panel and have a filter for buildings on them.
You can also do it with a filter.
I like to use the filter one because you can switch, have the filter on or off.
Interesting. I don't use filters very often.
So come again, Blake, because I just did that. So I selected all the buildings with that command, that search command, building equals star. I got that. And then?
Selection menu?
Yeah.
Unselect node.
My selection menu only has the three top commands: select all, unselect all, and non-branching ways.
Oh. So you're missing a plugin.
Okay.
I don't know which one. Let me look at my plugins and see. You are, maybe it's the utility. Are you looking at your plugins?
Yeah, I'm in the plugin now.
Can you, in the search, can you type in utils, U-T-I-L-S?
Yeah.
Do you see the utils plugin 2?
Yeah, I got it.
You have that one checked?
Okay, done that.
Did you have it checked or?
No, I did not have it checked, so I've downloaded it. And now in the selection, I do have your extended menu. So what do I need to do now? I need to go to area in the selection set.
What? No. You did your search.
I did my search. I got the buildings equals star.
Uh-huh.
And then I need to go in selection and get down to which.
Unselect nodes.
Okay, but there, I cannot click on this one. So.
Are you sure you have something showing up in your selection window? Do you have all your buildings selected?
Yeah, I've got all my buildings selected.
It's interesting.
Oh. But I just clicked on the square command and it squared everything.
Okay, well then you're set.
So it worked.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I don't filters.
If you want to see something particular in the mountains, I was talking about the road or the paths are used. You should search on internet gold salt caravans Nepal, and these caravans come from Tibet, where there are a lot of salt. Long commercial paths.
Blake, it looks like you're muted. I cannot hear you.
I am muted. I wasn't saying anything.
Okay.
I'm checking my email.
So is there another search command that you can use that looks at all the connected buildings that need to be disconnected?
Not that I know of. I mean, the validation should take care of that. If you just click on validation. So do you have? I have this validation panel.
Yeah, I got how to validate. Yeah.
And so my validation gives me 3 errors, which are duplicate nodes. So I'll zoom to that problem. I don't know what we're going to do here. I don't know if that fixes it or not. I don't really know what that problem means. I can just delete that one and everybody will be happy. And then I can zoom to the next one. Yeah, these are the ones I unglued. That one.
Yeah, people connect things everywhere. They should not connect like that.
This one doesn't look too bad to me. Oh, I don't really see. Okay, so in this instance, these were just 2 nodes on top of each other. So I'll just merge these. I should fix that one. So that should take care of those, and then I have 20 warnings. Missing power tower pole with power line. I can't do anything about that. Crossed buildings. Yeah, that's one of the ones. So this finds buildings with the validation to find my crossed buildings. But by the way, you can also control what gets checked during a validation in JASM. I haven't really figured it out, but you can. You certainly can get it to do the right thing and only check the stuff that you care about. So I would fix this by going to Tools and say Unglue, I guess. I would unglue those. And then I don't really know.
All right, Pierre and Blake, thank you very much. I gotta go, but this was very helpful, very useful, and then I'll come back with some ideas on training. And Blake, how do I join the Monday call? Is that open as a group or is it restricted?
No, it's open. It's in the IRC channel. You just show up at whatever the time is in the IRC channel.
Okay, I'm just not sure how to get there, but
How do you get to the IRC channel?
Yeah.
There's a, in the wiki, there's information on how to get to the IRC channel in the wiki. So let me see if I
There's
can.
one link that is very easy from the website. You just need to add your nickname.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, let me stick it in the Hangout chat. So in the OpenStreetMap wiki, that IRC thing, there's a web client. You can join with a web client.
There's your one in the wiki page for Nepal. I put a link there, which is easier because you connect directly to dot. You just need to add your nickname.
Yeah, that other one is better. Let me see here real quick. Here. So try this one here, Pierre. This is a slightly better one. So that one that starts with whatever it is, Kiwi IRC is a little bit easier for connecting. So you just join up and you just, you know what I mean? It should be a topic that the training working group does not have. We don't have anything. We have never discussed what the training working group should do in the early hours of an activation, in the early hours of a crisis. There's nothing formal that people should do as part of the training working group in the early hours.
Every crisis is different. We are forced to adapt with each crisis. For Ebola, we were not faced with thousands of people coming the first week like we had for Nepal.
So if you're going to be there on Monday, you know what I mean? We'll add that to the agenda, Pierre. Is how the training working group can better help support the activation coordinators in the early hours of an activation. Because there should be a somewhat more formal process than we have right now, which is next to no formal process. Yeah, I hope it was helpful for you, Pierre. It was, just kind of hanging out, just like a real hangout.
Very much so. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Well, thank you for asking. Talk to you soon.
Talk soon. Cheers.
GeoChat. Did I tell you about GeoChat? No. GeoChat's my favorite plugin. Interesting. What is this? Oh, I see.
Okay, I'll go also. Was just
okay, Pierre. Thanks for coming and stopping in. That was great. It was super cool, frankly. I'm glad you stopped in. And I'm just going to end this hangout, and I'm going to finish doing this square, and I'm going to mark it done.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye-bye, Pierre.